now from Baltimore, Stephen Janis. He is an award-winning Baltimore-based investigative reporter, and he's with The Real News. Stephen, I'll speak loudly in case the noise around you is too much. But I want to ask you, because there is a sense that we're coming to the end of something, and yet we're really not at the end of anything, because this riot yesterday and the frustration in that community hasn't even been dealt with in terms of the Freddie Gray case. Am I wrong on that?
No, you're not wrong on that at all. I mean, we have a situation that has become, I think, increasingly tense because of a long history of aggressive policing in Baltimore, and what is perceived in the community to be a lack of response from elected officials in terms of some of the things that the community wants to see change. Specifically, an end to an aggressive policing policy that led to the death of Freddie Gray, which is what this is about primarily. But if you look back in the history of Baltimore, Baltimore has had pretty much a tradition of using extremely aggressive police tactics to police poor communities. And what you're seeing in this protest is sort of expression of frustration with the continuation of that policy, and the fact that really at this point they feel like the mayor hasn't really responded or hasn't come up with anything tangible to offer the community to say, okay, we're going to make some solid changes. So I think really this isn't going to really end, I believe, until something substantive is offered, whether it be the investigation, the indictment of the officers, or actually, something substantive in changing how we do policing in Baltimore.
Well, and let's talk about that for a minute, because the officers themselves have not been charged with anything, obviously. Nothing's been referred to the district attorney's office. But even more than that, there hasn't even been basic explanations to questions about how this happened or why it happened in the Freddie Gray case. And so, as Baltimore sits right now, what happens in a week or what happens in 2 weeks when the police department comes back and says no charges will be filed? Are we expecting to see even more riots at that point?
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, I think right now we see a tension that comes from something that's very traditional in Baltimore, which is that there's an example of police violence, someone dies or someone's hurt, and the investigation stalls. And we get used to it because basically what the strategy is here is to wait out this kind of protest, wait out the anger of the community, and give some sort of answer 6 months later. In the past two cases, one with Tyrone West, who died in police custody, and Anthony Anderson, who died in police custody, both ended up with no indictments to the officers, and 6 months later a blue ribbon panel said, well, there were some things we could have changed or some things we could have done differently. But in fact, nothing really changed, as you can see, and I think that's the community's point. And if it comes to the point, 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now there's no answers, I think this is going to continue and perhaps heighten, because I don't think the community at this point is going to be willing to accept no answer in this particular case.